So here we go again. It was the Renters Reform Bill, and now it's the Renters' Rights Bill. And a lot of people think it's just the same thing with a different title, but it's not. This Renters' Rights Bill is the Renters Reform Bill times 10. So there are some main points that landlords and letting agents are definitely going to have to prepare for. If you don't prepare for these things, then you are going to get into trouble. You are going to get fined, penalised, possibly arrested. So take note, and I'm going to give a lot more detail and a lot more advice on all of this stuff to try and help as many landlords get through this bill as possible and stay profitable, stay compliant, and keep their investments and remain landlords. If you want to keep track on it with me, then subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's just my name, or follow my Facebook page or my TikTok page, but make sure you follow me somehow, some way. If you're a landlord in Portsmouth and Southsea and surrounding areas, then join my Portsmouth Landlords with Tom Soane Facebook group, where I do exclusive deep dives, if you like, into each individual part, and we go through it in detail and work out solutions. It's all free. I don't charge. I don't do training courses. I don't do mentoring or anything like that. I do all of this because if you want to use my letting agency, then you can do, or if you want to continue doing it yourself, I just want to make sure you get it right. Let's dive into this. Now, there are some main points that you are going to need to know and prepare for. First of all, number one, Section 21 is being abolished. Now, that was also the same in the Renters Reform Bill, but I did tell everyone then that this is going to stay. Even if the Renters Reform Bill doesn't go through, Section 21 is being abolished. Now, there are going to be some very definite solutions to this, so I'll go through that in a bit more detail in a bit. But number two is going to be rent controls. Now, that's a bit of a swear word, really, rent controls, but it's going to be something different to what you all expect. It's going to be rent controls and also rent increase controls as well. So you're not going to be able to discriminate. Now, that sounds a lot more harsh than it is, but really we're talking things like pets and housing benefit and other benefits and types of tenants and so on and so on. You're not going to be able to discriminate against any type of tenant in the future. Again, we'll go through that, what protection that you can take in order to cover yourself against any risks. But also we'll be talking about housing standards, because that's another one that's coming up in the Renters' Rights Bill. There's going to be much greater enforcement on housing standards and living standards. Now, there are so many landlords that feel like, yeah, I provide good housing. I provide good quality and a good condition of housing for my tenants. But there are going to be very strict rules, regulations and guidelines that you'll need to follow. So I actually do have a tenancy health checklist, which will help you go through all of the parts that you need to go through to make sure you're fully compliant. Notice periods are going to get longer, meaning you as landlords are going to need to give more notice to tenants if you want to evict them. And I go back to the first point about Section 21 being abolished. There are going to be very strict rules around evictions. And then you've got deposits. Now, I think deposits are going to be ported from property to property, kind of like a deposit passport or a deposit certificate or something like that, that says, I have a registered deposit, I'm going to transfer it from one property to the next. Now, there are going to be processes involved in that because, of course, sometimes landlords need to make deductions from deposits. So how is that going to work for the next landlord that's going to have that tenant coming into their property? There's also going to be much more landlord enforcement, meaning there's going to be more funding for the councils and local authorities to enforce all of these living standards, housing standards, rules, regulations in the future. There's also going to be a landlord register. I also think that's going to progress to landlord qualifications and licenses. I've talked about this many times before. I do think this is happening, so prepare yourself for that. If you're going to continue landlording, you will probably need a license in the future. There's going to be a better redress and a better ombudsman for tenants and landlords to settle disputes and handle complaints. Now that could either be a really good thing for landlords or a really bad thing for landlords. It depends on how it works out. But what does this all mean? I understand the government are trying to improve living standards for tenants. Now, there's not many landlords that are absolute idiots, but there are quite a lot. There's also a lot of landlords that think they are doing the right thing, but they're not. They think their tenants are safe and happy, but their tenants are not secure. Their tenants are not safe and not comfortable. There's so many landlords that are just getting it wrong innocently and don't know they're getting it wrong because it always changes. There's always some new regulations, new processes, new things they've got to do. So this is why I want to help. And I do believe that the government are pushing self-managing private landlords towards professional management. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'm not saying that all landlords have to have a letting agent. What it means is you're either going to be a landlord that has a license or has the required qualification or experience. You understand all of the regulations, all of the rules, all of the processes from start to finish, back to front, and you practice them religiously. Or you're going to use a professional letting agent who will do all of those things for you. Now, of course, I'm going to be biased, but I'm also a landlord as well. And all of my properties around the country are managed by letting agencies. In fact, my properties around other areas of the country my letting agency doesn't operate are managed by other letting agents that I've chosen, even though I could quite comfortably manage it myself. Why would I want to? I think there's going to be more accountability for letting agencies. I think there's going to be more demand for letting agencies to take over management from self-managing landlords. And that's going to only be a good thing, because if you're a good landlord, then you will want the best management for your tenants, for your property and the tenancy. So look, I'm going to make you a pitch here. Of course I am, because this is my business. But my letting agency covers Portsmouth, Southsea, Fareham, Gosport, Wickham, Bishop's Waltham, Waterlooville, Havant and Hayling Island. So if you have any properties in those areas and you want to just find out your options with management, it doesn't have to be full management, or it can be full hands-off management. One way or another, we can have a conversation about your options with regards to managing your property, your tenants and the tenancy. We will get it right for you. We will make sure it's compliant. We're not going to charge you the earth for nothing. So let's have a chat. Look, you can comment below, you can message me through Facebook, you can email me, it's tom@sonegroup.co.uk, and we'll go through the options and see what's best for you. But look, prepare yourself for the Renters' Rights Bill. This is probably coming because I think the new Gov, let's just say Gov, because Facebook and TikTok and YouTube don't really like that word. They are going to want to set their mark. They're going to want to put their foot down early. So this is probably, I don't want to say definitely, but it's probably going to happen. Let's get ready for it together. I'm also going to run a series of webinars as well that gives advice, gives help to any landlord that needs it. Let's do this together. I'm a landlord myself. Luckily, I own a letting agency, so I stay well ahead of all of this stuff. Hope that helps. Speak to you soon.